Okay, so today we're going to look at a couple of splint tests, and there are 3 splint tests you need to know. I'm going to demonstrate 2 of those for you today. So you'll see my hair has already been pulled back. I'm put on my safety goggles. Now, the first splint test we're going to do is going to be calcium carbonate. This triangle means in the presence of heat. So when you see a triangle over the arrow, what that means is heat has been added. And now we've already learned that a decomposition of a metal carbonate will give you a metal oxide and carbon dioxide gas. All right, so we are producing carbon dioxide gas and a calcium oxide. Now, and this is going to be important because we have a splint test going, and we know in order for my splint to burn, it requires oxygen, and in the presence of carbon dioxide, that fire goes out, okay? So this is what puts a fire out is the carbon dioxide. When you blow on a candle, you exhale carbon dioxide. That's why the candle goes out, okay? No more oxygen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some calcium carbonate to a test tube. Now, calcium carbonate is pretty shelf stable, meaning that as long as I don't add any heater to it, it'll sit on the shelf and it'll remain calcium carbonate. So it doesn't undergo this decomposition process on its own very easily, all right? So it's shelf stable. Now I'm going to hook my test tube up to a clamp. When I heat it, you're going to notice I'm moving it. I'm going to move it back and forth over the flame in order to make sure heat distribution is happening at the same rate. I'm also going to point my test tube away from me. This way, if it breaks, the contents fly out away from me and not towards me. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just heating my calcium carbonate. Now when I light my splint, and I put my splint in the test tube, what happened? All right, so my splint went out. Why? All right, this is proving that there was in fact carbon dioxide present. Carbon dioxide is a colorless gas. We can't see it, but we know it's present because the splint that was burning did go out. All right. And the next one we're going to look at, the next decomposition, is this hydrogen peroxide. And I'm going to put it in the presence of a catalyst, manganese dioxide. Now let's think about biology. Think back to biology class. What did we learn about catalysts? We learned that catalysts were enzymes. We know enzymes can be proteins. Catalysts speed up a chemical reaction by lowering the activation energy. All right, so they work to speed up a chemical reaction by lowering that activation energy. And we also know that catalysts are reusable. And we're going to look at catalysts in more detail in the AP portion when we talk about kinetics. And we're going to actually be able to see why they are reusable. So it's kind of cool. Like you didn't necessarily understand that in biology. So we're going to actually understand that in this class. All right, so that's kind of fun coming up. All right, so hydrogen peroxide in the presence of permanganese dioxide is going to break down into, and I left off my states of matter here, I should have put them in, liquid water and oxygen gas. Now we know that things burn because of oxygen gas. So this Splint test is going to work to prove that oxygen gas is produced. So what I'm going to do, so I have some manganese dioxide, all right? I'm going to put it in a test tube. I'm going to add some 30% hydrogen peroxide. Now I always do this as a demo because it's a strong oxidizer. And I've got some hydrogen peroxide, which I've already poured into this small beaker to make the transfer to my test tube better. Now, this is kind of a quick process, so I'm going to have to go, and we're going to talk about it when we're done. All right, so I'm just going to go with it. I got to go with it pretty quickly because I certainly don't want to miss the window of opportunity for the really coolness of this. All right. All right, so I got my manganese dioxide into my test tube. All right, what do you see here? You see smoke, you see bubbles. So here's my splint. If you could feel the test tube, you would feel it is hot. And it's kind of hard to see here, but my splint did relight. Okay, can y'all see that relighting when it goes in there? So look in the test tube. Did y'all see that relighting as it went into the test tube? This reaction's about done. Let's try it one more time. All right, look inside the test tube. Yeah, the reaction's finished. All right, that's okay. We got to see it. All right, so ultimately, my calcium carbonate, the splint went out because of the presence of the carbon dioxide. In my hydrogen peroxide decomposition, you were able to see the splint did relight when I put it back in, even though it was just for that quick second, it did relight, okay, when I put it back into the test tube. So that's proving the presence of oxygen.